Porn made me think that being in a relationship with someone meant all there is physical intimacy. Just a go kind of mentality and like, get what you want, get it now, and that's it.
Well, the news is Tomska's gone. If you're a regular viewer of this channel, you will remember that Tomska was a YouTuber who made a pretty disgusting video about pornography that was included in the Scottish Government's Relationship, Sexual Health and Parenthood Education lesson plans. It's the infamous video that included lines like "have fun with pornography because pornography is great." It showed a picture of someone having sex with, a cartoon of someone having sex with someone with a Zimmer frame to illustrate mature pornography. Talked about BDSM pornography. It urged young people to explore different genres of pornography to find out what appealed to them. It did mention some dangers, but the overall message was trivializing and vulgar, and frankly it was just filth. And it promoted pornography to pupils in school. Now, Tomska himself, the YouTuber, he's got a YouTube channel which is full of frankly perverted sexual content, but he was chosen to be the person to speak to Scotland's young people about pornography. Then we tried to embarrass the SNP about this on every opportunity. When I put it to John Swinney face to face, brought up features of this video among other things, he claimed that it didn't promote pornography. Just bizarre. We had a placard saying the SNP promote pornography, and we showed it to Ian Blackford. He said he was going to report us to the police. Alex Cole-Hamilton, the leader of the Lib Dems, said that the SNP should sue us for saying that their lessons promote pornography. Shirley-Ann Somerville, the new Education Secretary, we wrote to her on her appointment, saying we've been holding John Swinney responsible for these lessons. We're now holding you responsible unless you're going to change it. We had no reply to the lesson, of course. We did a little mock-up of a display on her MSP's office in Dunfermline, just to show people what's been promoted in schools. We did the same to John Swinney for real. This was just a mock-up, but we put that on social media. Anyway, but the news is now Tomska's gone. The video has been removed from the Scottish Government's sex education resources. So what's happened? Have RSHP.Scot, have their staff seen the light? Has their conscience got the better of them? I don't really think so. This video by Tomska has actually disappeared from YouTube completely. It was on the Childline NSPCC YouTube channel. I mean, it's bizarre to even say this, isn't it? But that's where it was, and it isn't there anymore. So the RSP.Scot people, they didn't have any choice. The video basically doesn't exist on the internet anymore. So they needed to replace it. But what have they replaced it with? Well, at the opening of this video, I showed you a little clip from one of the replacement videos, and there are 4 YouTube videos, all of a similar theme. I'll show you a couple of minutes from one of them now.
I started watching porn in my teenage years, and it made me feel horrible, flat, and probably the worst feeling of emptiness, where you feel this kind of wrenching, heart-wrenching kind of sadness or sorrow, but you can't do anything about it. You can't even feel it, but you know it's there. You know it's the only thing there, and it consumes you, but there's nothing. You're just numb to it all. It's completely flat. You're just like a robot. I was watching porn every day for 6 years, like 3 times a day sometimes. I was asexual. I mean, I was maybe sexual with porn, but I wasn't sexual with human beings. I wasn't able to be sexual with human beings. I had no motivation to flirt with a girl, for example. I had no motivation. It was just emptiness, this feeling of just, I'm not interested, I can't do it, and it was impossible for me. So this, took away my teenage years that I could have been enjoying. When I was 21, it was a summer's day, and I was in my parents' house in England, and I just started just crying, just this rush of just tears. I was so desperate to recover, because it got so bad that I was like, I came to a crossroads. I was either going to kill myself, I was going to jump off a bridge, I had it planned, or I was going to improve my life. And I thought I'd just give this improve my life a chance. Because then in that moment, I Googled porn addiction and found all the science about it. And I was like, yes, like everything just makes sense. Like the ED, everything that had been going on just suddenly made sense. And I felt like, wow, it just blew my mind that this was a thing, and that I had been so blind. I couldn't believe I was so blind to see that this was a serious problem in my life. And eventually with time it sort of became easier to stop it. You know, and I just knew that there was hope. For the first time in my life there was hope. There was like a light at the end of the tunnel. And then I met my girlfriend and there was just this connection, and I wanted to kiss her and do these things, and which I hadn't felt before, not for many, many years. And it was like, felt human again. I hadn't felt human for a long time, and I felt human again. I can't put it into words. It's something very beyond words, really.
What do you think of that then? That's pretty good, isn't it? That really gets over the danger of pornography, addiction, the possible depression, sexual dysfunction, relational capacity impairment. The videos also talk about the unrealistic expectations of sex generated by pornography. They talk about the objectification of men or women through pornography. I mean, they're all good messages. Just to go off at a tangent very briefly, this objectification line, the idea is that pornography reduces someone to one dimension. You're not interested in the whole person. You just take an interest in the one aspect of them, their sexual aspect. Now, I don't actually think there's anything wrong with objectifying people in that sense. I mean, for example, you could watch a musician on screen and all you're interested in about that person is their musical ability and their performance. You don't care anything else about them at all. You're just interested in them for that one particular thing. That's fine in lots of areas, but it's not fine when it comes to sex, because sexual desire should be within the context of a relationship. It should be a desire for an individual person and includes, let's say, the formation of a relationship. But anyway, I digress. So why this change of tone? Has the Scottish Family Party's campaigning on this issue made a difference? Well, I think we've made the sex education resources something of a national issue, certainly on social media. I think an awful lot of people have expressed concerns about it. So I think that probably has had an influence. Has maybe the government said to them, look, could you just tone it down a bit? It's getting a bit embarrassing. All these things the Scottish Family Party, etc., keep throwing at us about our sex education resources. Did that happen? Very possibly. But let's just bear in mind, this video that's been changed, they're for the oldest pupils, 15 and up. At the level below that, there's still the material that says porn use is perfectly normal. It includes very vulgar images, and it explicitly gives the message that it's okay to enjoy masturbating to pornography. So there seems to be a bit of a lack of joined up thinking across these resources. Other things in the resources, there's still a banana dipping into Nutella to illustrate anal sex. It still talks about rimming, again, sorry, I have to keep saying this, which is sort of licking the anus as a sexual practice. That's presented as a valid sexual practice. It still presents bondage in a positive light, still talks about the right to illegal underage sex, etc., 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 etc. So there are still an awful lot of problems with sex education in Scotland. Now, it talks about dangers of pornography in these lesson plans as they are now, the new versions of them. But there are some dangers that are not mentioned. It doesn't really mention that the effect on men in particular of pornography use is to make them less sensitive to sexual crime. So they tend to think that sexual abuse and rape are less serious crimes after they've watched pornography. They don't really talk about the way that pornography can lead people into sexual perversions, including paedophilia. Now, I think that's a pretty important consequence of pornography. It's a pretty important danger, and I think young people need to know about that. They don't talk about pornography as a form of unfaithfulness within a relationship as well, and that's also very important. Another thing they don't mention, again, something a little bit unusual maybe, is they don't mention the demographic issue. Scotland is short of population, and the more people you have tucked away in their darkened bedrooms gawping at pornography, instead of forming real relationships, getting married, having children, and reproducing, then that's not going to help the demographic problems in Scotland. Now, the message still coming through the sex education resources is that pornography is sort of okay in moderation, but try not to get addicted. Whereas a lot of people believe that pornography is not okay in moderation. They believe it's immoral, and there's a good case to be made why that's the case. Because of its consequences and for other reasons as well. We think that children, young people should hear the case of why pornography is immoral. It's not an acceptable choice. Otherwise, the message is, give it a go. I mean, it says explicitly to the younger age groups, using pornography is nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to feel guilty about, which I think is quite bizarre because people's built-in conscience makes them feel guilty, makes them feel ashamed, and that's a good thing. But the school lessons try and overwhelm that, and everyone suffers as a result. So bringing in a moral perspective is also very important, and we think that that should be an element of the teaching presented to young people. So the Scottish Government's approach in these resources, it's basically play right on the edge of the cliff, but just try not to fall off. That's the harm reduction approach. Whereas a moral approach is more keep clear of the edge of the cliff, then you're not going to fall off. That's a harm elimination approach. Now we think young people need to hear the case for the harm elimination approach as well. So sex education in Scotland is now not quite as bad as it was a few weeks ago, but it's still absolutely terrible. I wonder if, when they were discussing what to put in these lesson plans, I wonder if the thought was in their minds, what will the Scottish Family Party make of this? If we put this video in, that Richard Lucas is going to be all over it. It's going to be plastered around the internet. It might be a bit embarrassing, so maybe we'll play a bit safe. Did they think that? Very possibly. So I believe that one way or another, Scottish Family Party campaigning has slightly curbed the corruption of young people at school in Scotland, despite a virtually total media blackout on the subject, and again, no opposition to the government on this issue in Parliament. So that's what we've managed under those circumstances. Imagine what we'd achieve if we had a handful of MSPs in the Parliament. Well, to help with that project, I urge you to join the Scottish Family Party. There's a link below this video. And also come along to our conference on the 13th of November in Dunfermline. And one of the things happening in that conference is we're launching a book on sex, sexuality and gender education in Scotland. And you will receive a complimentary copy at the conference. So it would be great to see you there. Right, thanks for watching.